challenges they had at that time. So I'll just move on to the matters for discussion. The matters for discussion, this one I've already explained, they were projecting to overspend by 192.3 million as at Midyear, but they received some additional funding in the adjustments, and they received a net of 35.8 million. So we are expecting to see this projected overspending reducing slightly, even though it's still not enough, but it will make a bit of a difference. So the department in this regard just needs to take urgent steps to remain within budget and reduce potentially crippling accruals to 24-25. And as I mentioned earlier, the accruals from the previous year, which is 22-23, amounted to 144 million. So we will see this again happening to 24-25 if the department does not take steps to remain within their allocated budget. Goods and services, I mentioned computer services, they're overspending in respect of the SITA data lines, the increased SITA rates, as well as SITA computer specialized services. So SITA proposed to the department that maybe to reduce the cost, they can upgrade their legacy digital telecom lines. And the estimated cost for this upgrade were going to be communicated to the department. So we just need an update from the department in this regard. Has the department received estimated upgrade cost? Has an evaluation of cost savings been undertaken? And how long is the project expected to take before the department can start yielding some savings on the computer services item? The legal services relate to services offered by the SIU that was investigating irregular issues in the department. So an update is requested also in this regard, because this item has been continuously overspending in the previous years. So we just need to understand how far the SIU is with the investigations, when are these investigations anticipated to be finalized, and we need to find out from the department if any funds at all have been recovered from officials who were found guilty of financial misconduct. Travel and subsistence, this one is read together with fleet services, as I've already explained. The department is requested to put plans in place to avoid spiraling costs in this regard, and to ensure that this item is adequately budgeted for going forward, because even in the previous years, we had the same reason that more officials are opting to utilize their private vehicles for business. And even in the current year, we still face the same thing. So we just need the department to put plans in place to ensure that this item is adequately budgeted for, and to ensure that there's some savings as it is ideally expected from the fleet services item. Then the social sector APWP grant. So this grant has been reducing over the years from 48 million in 2021 to 28.8 million in the current year, 23-24. Also in the adjustments, this grant was cut by 2 million. So right now it is sitting at around 26 million in 23-24. The department has been topping up this grant over the years, and as you can see, the top-up amount is actually almost higher than the grant itself. So we just need to find out from the department what steps they are taking to report on the jobs created adequately, so that the grant can hopefully be increased again in the following years. The department had mentioned that it was planning to have a meeting with the National Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to engage on the reporting discrepancies, because Public Works indicated that the department was not submitting these documents on time, and that their full-time equivalent reports were showing a reduction in the numbers. So the department thinks otherwise. They are of the opinion that they've been submitting on time, and their FETs are actually increasing and not reducing. So they do not really agree with the penalties that have been imposed on them. So they were planning to have a meeting with Public Works to discuss these reporting discrepancies. So we need an update in this regard. Have they met with the Public Works? What were the resolutions? Did they review, and what happened? And we also advise the department to ensure that they review and consider their reporting mechanisms to ensure that they avoid penalties and further reductions in the grant going forward. Then on the upgrades and refurbishment, as well as infrastructure leases, we just need the department to provide its plans in relation to reining in expenditure, because these items are are projected to overspend at year end. And if I may just show you on this infrastructure table, so upgrades and refurb are projected to overspend at year end, and infrastructure leases as well. So we just need to find out from the department what plans they've put in place to ensure that they rein in expenditure in these items. Accruals, as I mentioned from the previous year, they had accruals of 144 million going to 23-24, so we need to understand how they're planning to fund these accruals in the current year and what impact that will have on the department's budget. And then youth academies, the department has been taking over some youth academies over the years, and it does not afford some of the costs to run these academies. So the department was advised to put plans in place to ensure that it can afford to run these academies and to ensure that the exorbitant costs are actually controlled on time before they worsen the department's budget constraints. The department responded and indicated that they were also planning to engage with the Department of Higher Education and Training to reduce the training cost and to also review their intake numbers and see if they can reduce them as well. So an update is requested. Have they met with the Department of Higher Education and Training? What were the resolutions taken? And has any improvement been noted to date? Also, what are the department's strategies to keep the operating costs within budget? And that brings me to the end. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Tabile. Honourable members, here are our reports. I'm sure we've done all of them as per.
Yes, Chair, we have.
Thank you. Honourable members, here are our reports. I'm sure you have noted your questions or clarities, but remember, most of what they were giving us, it was just a briefing for us to be able to take those questions into the department, as we are still going to meet the department. We are now 1 minute to 9. Most of what they were giving us, it is for us to equip us to go into the departments and ask those questions. Honourable members, here are the reports. Do we have any questions for our presenters, or we are? Yes, Honourable Kavena.
Chair, no, I was going to say that I'm comfortable. I have issues that I will raise with the department.
Thank you. Can we all take it like that? That will take issues with the departments, the one that were given to us by our presenters who have just given us a very good summarized presentations of which have actually assist us to understand where to start with the departments. Honourable members, can we then move into our meeting, which starts now at 9 o'clock. Once again, let me welcome all of you into our meeting, and our meeting is now officially opened. Can we then move into item 2, which is apologies? Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. I did not receive any apologies from honourable members, except our officials, Dr. Mkunu, the researcher, and also our legal advisor will have to leave early due to a doctor's appointment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, any other apologies? No. And can we then accept those apologies as were given by SPA? And now we'll move into item 3, which do we have our constitution of the meeting? Do we have a quorum now of members into this meeting?
Yes, Chair, we do.
Thank you. Then our meeting is officially opened, and can we then have a mover and a seconder of adoption of the agenda?
Chair, move for adoption of the agenda.
Thanks, Honourable Kavenda. Can I have a seconder?
Seconded, Chair, CQ.
Thank you, Honourable CQ. The seconder, so our agenda has been moved and seconded. I'm sure I saw MEC, she's now here. I'm sure she's always on time. I'm sure she's here. Can we then move into her remarks?
I'm here, Chair. Good morning.
Oh, thank you. Can we then have remarks from you? Greetings, Honorable MEC. Please give us your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm struggling with connecting with a different device. I'm still trying to log on. If Chair, you can just be patient with me. I will open my camera once I've been able to log on with the other device. In the meantime,
No, but
Chair,
it's fine. It's fine. You can proceed.
Is that fine? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to you and greeting to the colleagues. Greetings to the members who are in the meeting. We really appreciate this opportunity, Chair. Chair, as the Department of Health, the Department of Health is coming in front of the Portfolio Committee today, the Finance Portfolio Committee, to present a number of our, well, not our challenges really, but present our financial situation. But it will be very remiss of us not to indicate the precarious situation that the precarious financial situation that we are faced with. Chair, and we have been saying this for some time now. It might sound as if it's a broken record. However, we do have a challenge, Chairperson, with the budget cuts to our baseline that has been actually continuous for the past 3 financial years at least. And I think colleagues from the department will actually get into details with that. Now, that precarious situation, Chair, actually pushes us into a corner where we Okay, I think I'm there now. All right. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, yeah, you can.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I do wanted just to indicate that the budget cuts for the past 3 or 4 financial years are really beginning to bite to the bone now. In the past couple of financial years, we have been able to move finances around, move focus around, move targets around to try and live within the means that we have been given, or within the budget that we have been provided. And although it has been difficult, but we have been able to manage that process over the last 3 financial years. But Chair, I do want to raise this point now to the Portfolio Committee that it is really now biting. The fact that we have been having these cuts is really biting to the bone. And here, Chair, I'm not even speaking about the latest challenges that we are facing in terms of the financial situation, and I will speak to that just now. But the challenges that we are faced with, Chair, if they persist, as a department, we might find ourselves being unable to pay for service providers, such as those that are providing food in our different hospitals, and NHLS, Chair, is the organization that provides our tests and so forth. And because I know there might be media in the house, Chair, I'm not saying we are not doing that now, but I'm saying if the situation persists, we might find ourselves in that particular situation. I'm emphasizing this, Chair, because I don't want to be misquoted in the media tomorrow to say that we said we can't afford to pay for our service providers. So we have found this to be a quite difficult situation, Chairperson, and it is really putting us in a very awkward situation as a Department of Health. We are aware when it comes to our spending that by mid-year, there were grants that we were 48%, 49% underspending. We want to make it, or we want to indicate to the legislature, Chair, that in as much as that underspending was as a result of some invoices in some instances that had not been submitted, in other instances as a result of projects that are not proceeding as quickly as we had anticipated. But we do want to commit that by the end of the financial year, we certainly would have spent all the grants, because Chairperson, any cent that is available to the department is a cent that is more than needed. So we cannot afford to send our funds back. That is why we made sure that even in the last financial year, we did not return any of our grants. I just also wanted to speak to Chair the issue of the unfunded wage bill. The unfunded wage bill is going to have an extremely crippling effect to the department, because it now will also eat on the funds that we have been struggling to maintain in the past 3 years. Chairperson, in the past 3 years, we have lost more than 10 billion as the Department of Health. And losing those funds, it's actually losing funds that have been committed, and we have then had to go back and reprioritize. So if the wage bill continues to be unfunded, that will just absolutely cripple the system in its entirety. When we were told that we needed to fund the wage bill from within our coffers, Chair, we then went back as a department to look around and check how much is the wage bill going to cost us. In essence, the wage bill was costing the department 2.2 billion rands. We now have a commitment that says we will be given or will be provided 1.4 billion rands as a final allocation. Now, for someone who is outside, that might seem as a huge contribution towards the financial, the wage bill, Chair, but the reality is that it is actually a small contribution considering the amount that we have been losing on our baseline in the past few years. So that will still continue to cripple us. Of course, we appreciate the 70% that we are going to be receiving, but it is not going as far as we would need it to go. It doesn't help, Chair, that the national minister also pronounced that in line with the cost-cutting measures that they are faced with, or that everyone is faced with really, all departments were requested to actually contribute towards the cost-cutting measures, and the Department of Health at national level volunteered that they will also be returning back to National Treasury a particular amount, and that amount that they committed to returning to National Treasury means that they have to cut on the grants that they are giving to provinces. In our case, as the province of KwaZulu-Natal, 2 grants are going to be cut, Chair, and the first one is the HIV and AIDS grant, which they are taking 274 million rands away from us as a province, and the next one is the facilities revitalization grant, and they're taking 90 million rands there from the province. Now, these are grants that we have learned to rely on. These are grants that have assisted us to actually stay afloat over the past few years as well. And now that they're being cut, it also then comes back to the financial constraints and financial challenges that are going to be quite difficult. So I just thought, Chair, let me raise these 2 issues to the portfolio committee, so that when the members engage in relation to what we are presenting, there is also that understanding at the backs of our minds as members on the challenges that the department is faced with. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks a lot to our MEC. Though it's a bit worrying, most of the issues that we have reported, though we are aware, but let's appreciate on your report, then you'll be able to guide us to who is actually going to do the report on behalf of the department, either HOD or CFO. I'm not sure who's going to guide us. Please guide us on that one, MEC.
All right. No, thank you very much, Chair. I will request the HOD to present the team, but I believe that CFO and his team will be leading the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks a lot. HOD, you can come in. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members, and good morning to the MEC. Good morning to the officials in the meeting. Chair, before I give to the CFO and the team where Mr. Phumelele Shezi will be taking us through the performance as we are going to present it, I just want to give the honorable members the figures that MEC spoke about. In 2021, as a department, we lost 2 billion, more than 2 billion, let me put it like that. 21-22, more than 5 billion. 22-23, more than 7 billion. This is the funding that MEC says we've been losing over the past few years. On top of which, we've now lost the other figures that MEC has mentioned in terms of the grants. This is for that year. Now, when you look at that, Chair, and look at the rent value and look at the literal allocation to the Department of Health, you would realize how low we have our budget at now. It's actually sitting at 50 billion, whereas at some stage it was more than 52 billion. Now you realize how hamstrung the department is. However, I also want to reassure the members that when it comes to grants, we are certain that we are going to spend all the grants. They will appear now, at least the three, to be below the 50% mark in September, but we have looked at that as a department and we are certain we are going to spend. And actually, we think if we spend very well, some of the money that's supposed to be used by from the grants will be taken from the equitable share. So we definitely will use all our grants. There is no underspending that will happen. With that said, Chair, may I ask that we allow Mr. Phumelele Shezi to be the one that takes us through in terms of the performance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Shengu. Phumelele, do you mind just to hold on? I almost forgot a very important message. Honorable members, let us all wish Honorable Rashbansi a happiest birthday. It is a happy birthday today. Unfortunately, we have to be at work. Honorable Rashbansi, we're wishing you a happiest birthday of the day. And also, it is our President, Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa's birthday today. We wish you all a happiest birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we then move on? Phumelele Shezi, can you then you can proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to yourself. Greetings to honorable members, Honorable MEC, HOD, and colleagues. I am indeed going to take the members of the committee through our mid-year financial report as requested. Not sure if the Secretariat is going to assist with the projections, Chair.
Normally, it's on your side to able to share the screen. I'm not sure if you did that arrangement, or maybe our Secretariat can do that. Is there anything that we can do, Spa?
Otherwise, I am, as you are directing, Chair.
It's right here. You can proceed.
Thanks, Chair. Let me just maximize my screen. Thank you. I will then proceed as guided. In terms of the content, it is as projected. So going straight at it, it is indeed our mid-year financial performance report, as it were, wherein of the main appropriation of 50.687 billion, at mid-year we are projecting that amount in excess of 5 billion rands, because we were at 52.52% relative to the norm of 50%. But as at mid-year, that actual overspend was sitting at 1.277 billion rands, above the benchmark of 50% as indicated. Now, there are three main root causes for this poor projected outcome. The first one being that around compensation of employees, where this economic classification is projecting 2.792 billion rands, attributable to the unfunded wage agreement 2023, and the impact of the historical budget cuts, as alluded to by Honorable MEC and HOD earlier, and leading to the fact that then some of our current warm bodies now remain unfunded, including the impact of the COVID contractors as we have them.
Yes, sorry, but can Honorable Governor?
I don't know if it's just me, but the screen is closed.
It's not like, I think, yes, I'm not sure. Is there anything that you can do with your screen? Because it seems to be showing half, but also, I'm not sure. I think we do have these reports on our disposal, if I'm not wrong, honorable members.
Yes, Chair, but let me try and assist you. I'll present for I mean, I'll stream, I'll share the screen. Thanks.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think that seems to be, it's going to come right. Can he then in the meantime proceed, or do we wait for the screens? Because I'm also sure that we do have, okay. Here it is.
Okay, no, thanks for that assistance from your end, Honorable Chairperson. So I will indeed proceed, but I will use my slides from my side, just directing in terms of where I actually am, so that it's synchronized between the assistance I'm getting and my narrative. So I am indeed on slide number 5, where we are then saying the main root causes for the projected outcome, the unfavorable projected outcome, is firstly on COE, as I've indicated, with all those contributing factors as projected. So the second area or contributing economic class is the goods and services economic classification, wherein we are projecting that unfavorable 2.545 billion rands. And so we are citing that areas like the fuel, medicines, medical supplies, laboratory services, in terms of the testing that happens as part of our core business, and the some of the property payments could not be fully funded as a result of the insufficient budget due to the historical budget cuts. But again, compounding to this challenge is the impact of accruals from the previous financial year, wherein things like your inflationary adjustments, because most of our spend is actually inflation linked. So this really could not be fully funded because of those historical budget cuts. So things like the impact of load shedding and the ever escalating fuel prices really could not be adequately budgeted for as part of the goods and services analysis. The last area as part of this overview is the impact of the medical legal claims budget for the current financial year, where we are citing an estimated funding gap of 140 million, just basing on how much we had actually spent in the previous financial year. We are estimating that this is going to be the funding gap from this end. So all those three areas then combined add up to that 5.031 billion rands as projected. Now moving to the next slide number 7 shows a table with all our 8 programs. If you focus on the extreme right of the table, you will observe that the highest contributor in terms of programs is program 2, digital services, that adds about 2.665 billion rands to the pressure, and followed by program 4, which has a projected overspend of 1.346 billion. And then program 5 follows with about 702 million rands, 702.5 million rands, as can be seen, just highlighting the ones that are materially contributing to the projected outcome. So if you go to the individual program analysis, starting with the administration program in slide number 8, this program was at 73.8%. Relative to the 50% norm at mid-year that was expected. This is then, in rand terms, is about 154.167 million rands projected over But again, in terms of the root causes, goods and services is the one of the main contributors. But in terms of detail, we are citing the impact of the secondary network that we are trying to install in the department to assist with the connectivity challenges that has been plaguing the department over the past few years. We have managed to procure additional routers and switches for the second network for installation across all 42 sites in the province, leading to that 92.197 million rands pressure within this economic classification. But again, consultant services, some of the contractors that are assisting us in terms of maintaining our favorable audit outcomes that we achieved in the last financial year relative to the valuation of our valuations of our movable and tangible capital assets, areas like the regular expenditure, the capital work in progress, commitments, payables, and other financial management services. So that also is adding on to the projected unfavorable pressure within this program. The management fee for our food distribution network service provider also is adding to the picture with that 6.358 million rands as projected. Again, the assistance that we are getting relative to the forensic investigations in terms of the panels that we have. Likewise, the establishment of the internal audit activity as resolved by the provincial cabinet in terms of establishing that service within the department, and the investigations into the medical legal claims that's also underway, and the assistance we are getting from the special investigations unit relative to the investigations into SCM processes. All of those, in as much as we are welcoming them, but are really adding to the financial pressures as projected in the overview slide. But mitigating these pressures within program one is somewhat was the underspend against the subsistence and travel due to the deferment of the motor vehicle subsidy scheme. That was actually put on hold in the department because of the very budget pressures we are talking about. So some of these savings have actually been set aside towards the 10 million rands. That also is a provincial cabinet resolution around us contributing towards the crime fighting initiative in the province as resolved. Then the next program, Digital Services, Program 2, slide 9, also shows an overspend at 51.5%. In rand terms, 2.667 billion rands. Again, the root causes are the very unfunded 2023 wage agreement impacting on the warm bodies and the impact of the COVID contractors as reported in the overview slide. But Program 2 then contributes about 1.896 billion rands to the more than 5 billion rands projected at vote level. The annual inflationary adjustments, again, couldn't be funded in this particular program as part of goods and services, adding that more than 1 billion rands, as can be seen in the projection, and the medical legal claims, again, contributing within the context of Program 2. And we are citing that the nil expenditure on transfers and subsidies to province and municipalities at mid-year is due to the delays in us receiving the municipal claims invoices from the eThekwini Metro. And we're hoping that this is going to be resolved in year such that then the spend is aligned to the norm year before the actual completion of the current financial year. And then moving to the next slide, Program 3, Emergency Medical Services. This program was below the guided 48.4%. Here we are citing the challenge that we had experienced with the respective national contract on the procurement of ambulances that was concluded late in the second quarter. Then requisite orders have actually been made in this regard. So I'm hoping that deliveries against these orders is going to also happen in the third quarter to also allow for the conversion of these ambulances, so that they are actually fit for purpose before they are actually dispatched to all the districts as part of their core reason for the existence of this particular program. But again, the impact of the salary, the unfunded wage agreement, and the budget cuts also plagues this particular program. Moving to the next program, provincial hospital services was overspent at 53.6%. In rand terms, projecting a 1.346 billion rands over its main appropriation at year end. And again, compensation of employees, as reported earlier, is one of them contributing areas. Goods and services contributing about 729.577 million as a result of the reported budget cuts and accruals, and the fact that the inflation-related increases were not actually fully funded in the current financial year, impacting on Program 4. The impact of medical legal claims also is actually seen to be a contributor also within this particular program, Program 4. Moving to the central hospitals, hospital services, Program 5, slide 11. This program was also overspent at 52%, or 702.5 million rands. Also, the impact of goods and services in terms of the budget cuts, the historical budget cuts, and our inability to actually fully fund items such as fuels, the medical supplies, the property payments, with regard to the security services, cleaning, garden and grant services, and likewise the historical budget cuts, as reported earlier, actually is the root cause of this 2% above the norm in terms of the spending percentage. Moving to health sciences and training, these were actually below the norm at 47.7%. But still projecting that 84.644 million rands worth of overspend at year end. This one is mainly, the root cause is mainly the over-allocated medical interns that we have been given by our National Department of Health as part of the statutory obligation. So there is a few of them, about 60, that remain unfunded, leading to that projected overspend as reported in Program 6. Healthcare Support Services Program 7 was overspending at 111.6% due to the medicine trading account, because this is where we actually pay for our medicines before we verify and then allocate requisite expenditure to other clinical programs, like your Program 2, 4, and 5. But again, this is then yet to be resolved within as part of quarter 3, the journals, the respective journals that still need to be captured, so that expenditure is then moved over to these other core clinical programs as reported. So there is that projected overspend of 17.548 million rands relative to compensation of employees, also in respect of the unfunded wage agreement. But again, within the context of goods and services, there is laundry services that gets provided within this program, and it's heavily impacted by the price of coal, because our boilers, actually some of them, still rely on coal. This particular line item is projecting a more than 31.3% price increase in the current financial year, impacting on the ability to then afford this particular service within Program 7. Lastly, health facilities management was below the norm at 42.8%. Well, this one is basically due to the delays in us receiving invoices from the Department of Public Works relative to the projects that they are actually implementing on our behalf as a provincial health. The picture in terms of the different economic classes as depicted in slide number 14 can just at a glance be seen if honorable members focus on the column on the extreme right, that within current payments, compensation of employees is the highest contributor in terms of the projected bottom line outcome of 5 billion rands, as can be seen. So COE is contributing about 2.792 or 2.793 billion rands, followed by goods and services at 2.505 billion. And then the house transfers to households, adding that more than 108 million rands, as can be seen in the projection. So just highlighting those few, we can see that indeed those are the three main contributors to the unfavorable outcome at year end. And the narrative was actually explained in the program analysis in the previous slides. Now moving to the next section of this report, the conditional grants, slide number 16 shows that table wherein our conditional grant spend was below the norm at 45.13%, as highlighted earlier by the head of department. So there are three main contributors in terms of the conditional grants that are actually performing below the 50% norm at mid-year. The first one being the district health programs grant, is followed by the statutory human resources training and development grant, and then lastly the health facility revitalization grant. Then the subsequent slides actually goes at length in terms of then providing detail in terms of the root causes of why some of them are actually underperforming relative to the norm. So we'll start with the district health programs grant, which was below the guide at 44.72%. Here it is mainly the antiretroviral treatment or drugs payments that were actually slow because of the outstanding payment packs that have to be collated.
Chair, we cannot hear.
Honorable Governor. Honorable Governor, you wanted to say something? No. Okay. Then please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So I was at the district health programs grant that was underperforming relative to the norm because of the slow payments around our antiretroviral treatment drugs due to the payment packs that have to be collated from all our 69 hospitals, community health centers, and clinics across the province before they are actually paid for by our provincial pharmacy supply depot. So that process is underway and will be rectified as part of quarter 3, and hopefully will then be aligned to the spending norm at the end of the subsequent quarter, as it were. But again, impacting on this particular grant is the outstanding municipal claims from eThekwini Metro, as reported in the previous slides. Moving on to the health facility revitalization grant, which was also below the norm at 34.54%. This one, we are then highlighting the impact of the backlog of maintenance in our facilities that were impacted by the floods. Those relevant recovery projects experienced SCM supply chain management delays due to the vetting process that was correctly implemented by provincial treasury. And so those respective bid processes have had to be started de novo, and those have recently been awarded. So we are hopeful that as the projects are now going to be on site, we are then going to be seeing improved spend in the subsequent quarters of the financial year. The last grant that was below the norm at 48.95% was the HR and training grant. Again, here to resolve this, we've had to add 11 more medical interns in terms of the linking on PESAL so that we see an improved spend in this particular grant. So I'm hopeful that indeed it is going to be fully spent. Likewise with the other two reported conditional grants, because all grant managers have actually produced catch-up plans that they are already implementing as we speak, honourable members. Now moving to the National Health Insurance Grant, which was above the guideline at 51.12%. This one specifically assists us with the development of oncology services in the province, and the above the norm performance is due to the increase in the service due to more patients being seen in the northern part of the province at the hospital, Queen Nandi Regional Hospital. But we will actually monitor this as part of our in-year monitoring processes in terms of at least ensuring that the grant is actually achieves a balanced outcome at year end. Cost overspending is actually not allowed in the context of conditional grants. So additional pressures will then be absorbed by the equitable share allocation of our budget. Now, slide number 18 continues with the conditional grant analysis. National Tertiary, the NTSG grant, also was above the norm at 52.09%. This one was mainly impacted by the accruals from the previous financial year, 2022-23, in terms of accruals and the high price increases of medical consumables. So if one can just perhaps add in terms of this particular impact of the price increases. The honourable members will appreciate that there is that bottom line CPI in terms of the basket of commodities that will speak to inflation, but medical inflation in the context of health is usually 4% above CPI. Hence, the emphasis on the impact of the unfunded price increases in our context as provincial health. But further, the increase in terms of the number of patients who are on the renal dialysis program also is adding onto the pressure relative to this grant. Likewise, the capital expenditure, which is expected to increase as part of the medical equipment that was awaiting delivery at the reporting period. Now moving to the last two grants in terms of expanded public works program, starting with the integrated grant for provinces, which was already fully spent at Midyear. And lastly, but not least, the social sector incentive grant for provinces, which was at 58.10%. This one, the more than the above the norm performance here was mainly to the recent stipend increase that we pay to these particular cadres employed within this grant, effective from the beginning of the financial year, April 2023, that was actually implemented. And as I did indicate earlier, the overspend is going to then have to be absorbed by the equitable share allocation of our fiscus. Now, the last section of this midterm report speaks to revenue. The table in slide number 20 shows that at bottom line, we were at 43% relative to our targeted collections of 343.844 million rands, mainly looking at the narrative in slide number 21, due to the sale, that item in terms of sale of goods and services other than capital assets, where we are citing that, for instance, our COIDA accounts were severely impacted in terms of the targeted collection, because the Department of Labour and Constitutional Development had introduced new systems called Umehluko and Comp Easy to further assist us in terms of streamlining the processes within our hospitals. But these new systems had technical glitches that are currently being resolved between the two departments. So there is things like training, ongoing training, and system bugs that had actually to be rectified. So those processes are underway, and we are hopeful that they will yield to more or improved collections before end of the financial year. The second area within this particular group is our South African National Defence Force accounts that we are also under collecting. But here we are then seeing a drop in the number of army personnel that are coming through our hospitals, and through the two accounting officers, this is being addressed so that whatever anomaly there may be will then be rectified, such that we actually also see an increase in terms of the footprint working through our hospitals across the province. The last but main contributor within this group is the Road Accident Fund, wherein at mid-year there is accrued revenue of more than 70 million rands that still had not been collected from the Road Accident Fund. We are citing the impact of the system hack, the Road Accident Fund system hack that happened in 2021, that led to some of our health records being lost. But one is glad to report that those records have since been restored in their system, so they are being processed, and we are hopeful that the accrued revenue is then going to be collected such that we surpass our collection targets for the financial year. So those are the main reasons within this group. The next lot speaks to fines, penalties, and forfeits, where because of lack of demarcated parking bays in our hospitals and the rest of facilities across the province, then we are not able to collect revenue because of this lack of demarcation, which it's actually due to various reasons. Some will just be plain the sizes in terms of the lots where our facilities are located. It doesn't allow for the demarcation of parking, so then as a limitation, it then has this adverse impact on collections with regard to this particular group. The last group in slide number 21 is with regard to the interest, dividends, and rent on land, which has been surpassed our targeted collection at mid-year because of the number of staff deaths from our institutions, for staff deaths that actually bear interest. And so we are appreciative of this collection with regard to that, in as much as staff deaths in their entirety need to be also managed. We do appreciate that. And then slide number 22 as the last lot in terms of the revenue analysis. At the very top, there is sale of capital assets, where there is under collection, because instead of our old vehicles that have gone past their useful lives, instead of them being auctioned within the department, there is also that cabinet resolution that suggested we move all of these to the Community Safety and Liaison Department, so that they are repaired and used towards crime prevention initiatives as a result. So the anticipated revenue with regard to those auctions then is not going to be coming forth within this financial year as expected. The last area is the financial transactions in assets and liabilities, which also speaks to staff debts raised, impacting on previous year expenditure cumulatively. That has actually also surpassed its growth, which is a welcome sort of outcome. So I think that in a nutshell, Chair, brings me to the end of this mid-year financial performance report as requested by this honorable committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we now have, I'm not sure if SOD wants to do any addition. I'm only left with 2 minutes for him if he wants to, and then I will give it to honorable members for questions. SOD, any addition? If not, then can we then move on to honorable members? For this vote, we are left with about 14 minutes. Can we then proceed, honorable members, by raise of hands? Honourable members, I see Honourable de Klerk, Honourable Governor. Who else I don't see? I see a hand, but I can't see the name. Can we then start with Honourable de Klerk, Honourable Governor, Honourable Makeba? I saw also Honourable Takuras Bansi. Can we start in that format, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is very similar to Education Department yesterday, in the sense that there is a projected overspend of billions, and the national funding of 1.47 billion will not make such a big difference. And it seems that the major contributor of this pressure is compensation of employees. So that is a significant portion of the problem. I haven't heard any plans for rationalization from the department, nor a human resources plan, how they're going to deal with it. What we do actually see is the opposite. So we have the wages as a major problem. That's now one of the problems. There is the others like cost cutting and so on. And we were told that year on year, it actually doubles. It started, I think, at 5 billion and ran all the way through to 8 billion over the years. This is surely not sustainable. But notwithstanding that, the department still absorb contracted COVID-19 staff, unfunded mandates. How can we take the action plans and the plans to rationalize and to deal with the problems that is caused by the policy from national government and decisions taken? How are we going to deal with that if the department's own action is to do exactly the opposite and appoint people on an unfunded mandate basis? One loses faith and one loses hope in the circumstances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can we move on to Honourable Governor? Then we'll be followed by Honourable Takuras Bansi.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I want to also echo this issue. You see, the projected overspending of 5030 billion, I mean, it's at year end is scary because there isn't money. And I hear what the department is saying, right, about their budget being progressively cut. But the reality is that all budgets have been cut, and it's not a KZN thing, it's throughout the country. I think what also compounds our issue as KZN is the decline in the population in the province, because the per capita allocation from national then changes in terms of the formula that is there. So we have a shrinking population comparatively and a shrinking budget. And the reality then, Chair, is that we are going to have to make do with what we have. So this is the problem. And any amount of us, pointing out that we don't have the funds, it's going to fall on deaf ears. I'm saying this, and it's harsh, because this is the reality that the department and the province is confronted with. We have a similar situation in education, but in fairness to health, I must say that this department makes genuine attempts to try and literally make a plan. Having said that, Chair, I don't think that the absorption of over 6,000 COVID-19 temporary staff is making a plan. And I just want some clarity from the department, because I see in the presentation, you talk about extension of contracts, right? If it's extension of contracts, then possibly it's finite, and those can be terminated at the end of their duration. But if staff have been absorbed into the permanent body of employees, then I would want to know what provision has been made for the carry-through costs. Because you can take staff on now, and it's unfunded, and then in the next year, you're going to have to cater for them and in the year thereafter. And the reason that I'm raising this is the department is carrying 1.485 billion of accruals from 22-23 into the 24-25 financial year. So you already will be starting the next financial year owing 1.485 billion worth of accruals. Now, colleagues, we all know the story of accruals. They catch up with you eventually. The Department of Education is the same. And accruals are funds that are not paid. You take them into the next year, you have to pay them, and they then eat into whatever budget you have. So the department already has a serious problem. And I'd like to know how they're going to address this. Then the issue of the medical legal claims, right? Here we've been told over various meetings that there is some plan to have these centers of excellence where rather than pay money, which actually, you know,
there is some Penny who is a guest here. Can someone deal with that, please? Please proceed, Honorable Governor. Honorable Governor.
Chair, she got cut off, but I'm dialing her in now.
Okay.
My apologies, but it seems like somebody removed me from the meeting. Don't know SPA if they don't like what I'm saying. But on the medical legal claims, we were told about the centers of excellence, which would save the department money. We need to be told about where this has gone. I understand there were 2 pilots. This has to be pushed out so that those costs can be saved, because you will not be paying cash to claimants, but rather treating them for the duration of the term of treatment. And then I'd also like to know about revenue generation. You know, one of the areas which appeared to be low-hanging fruit was the issue of patient fees collection. Where is the department going with that in terms of the system? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Governor. Honorable Takuras Bansi, followed by Honorable Zulu.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yeah, I think for me, it's also about the absorption of the COVID-19 staff. And I know that coming from the committee, we had lots of conversations about this. But at that time, it was on a contractual basis. And I'm now thinking that COVID is over, and I know the legal implications of now taking on these staff is permanent, but I know that we were told that it would be in a phased manner. So I think maybe we just need to get clarity whether we in any particular phase, or whether this is now all done and we are going to have to deal with this unauthorized expenditure. But on the other hand, I also think that if it is national policy and it was transversal and the same across provinces, then that is a matter that we need to maybe make a case with national. On the other hand, I agree with Honorable de Klerk that it's about time that we fast-tracked the HR planning in the department, because there is rationalization going on. There's commissioning of hospitals and decommissioning of others, and that is an important exercise that the department is undertaking, because this is going to spread the services efficiently and the spending. But I think that there has to be more pace in that, more speed in that. And the HR plan has to be from basically a zero-based exercise where we have to do the scoping, because there are institutions that have excess staff more than what they should be having. There are others that have less. And this skewed picture has to be corrected. So, I think as a committee, this is very important for us to put the department on terms about a time period in which to fast track this. Otherwise, this can be a runaway budget, like the IT budget in the department, if we do not, put these checks and balances as a committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Rashbansi. Honorable Makeba. Honorable Zulu. Honorable Zulu. Can I then move to Honorable Rogers in the meantime while we're trying to get all of Honorable Zulu? Honorable Rogers.
Thanks very much, Chair. Good morning to you and good morning to the colleagues. Sorry, I've had some connectivity problems. Chair, I've got two simple questions. The one question is, having listened to the report by the Department of Health, what I don't see here is a detailed action plan of how we're going to avoid this over expenditure. I don't see any plan. I see a report for the midterm, but no plan how we're going to turn it around. I'm not sure whether that's something that needs to be taken up at committee level, but I certainly think as a finance portfolio committee, if you look at the projected overspend, I think it's something that we need to keep a close watch on. And then when it comes to the incorporation of the additional staff, those were that employed during the period of COVID, when we engaged with Treasury, I almost got the feeling that with the position of a moratorium on employees, that this incorporation of these staff didn't follow the process of Treasury approval and approval of executive. It went straight to the executive without Treasury's approval. Can I just get some clarity on that, whether in fact my understanding is correct? Obviously, if I'm wrong, then please correct me. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Rogers. Honorable Zulu. Honorable Zulu. Okay. Let me just proceed for a few of mine. I think some of them have been covered. For me, I also want to agree with the MEC as well on the issue of, working into such a precarious situation on their budget. I think it must have been challenging. And also the report that we have just got from the HOD when he was telling us about, it's like every financial year they start on a back foot, because Honorable Governor also spoke about this issue of accruals. Every financial year when we have to plan, it's really impossible to do any planning with the accruals in place, because you will plan with your budget in place, but still have to think of the accruals. It must be a disaster for them for every year where you have to plan on that. On the issue of medical claims, again, I'm not sure there must be some research or study how to reduce this, because it seems to be every financial year it's been going on like this for, I'm sure, a number of years. And maybe is there anything that has been done, as what Honorable Rogers have said? I was also going to ask on the issue of an action plan, because yes, we have seen in most of your report, there are diagnostic reports, but now what is lacking is your action plan, how to deal with most of the issues that we have diagnosed, that this is the problem, but now then come up with an action plan to say, we think going forward, this is what we think. Yes, I've seen one of them which was very good. It might be small, but it shows that you're really trying to do something. When you actually made a savings on the, I think it's on the motor vehicles subsidy. I think you are trying to do something. Then I think part of your action plan needs to show things like that, because it actually ends up as if there's nothing that has been done. But by seeing that as little as it is, but it shows that something has been done on regarding into all this whole thing. But also the issue of your system hacking in 2021. Do you have any security in place now to avoid the same thing happens again? Because my concern there is the cyber crimes are actually growing at the moment. So is there anything in place to avoid this happening going forward? Honorable Zulu, are you back? If not, I will allow the department to come back and answer to some of the questions and clarities from members. Thank you. Let me see.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think I want to start with the last point you are raising on the action plan. Indeed, the plan is available, and probably HOD didn't think it was supposed to be part of the presentation, but it can be made available to the committee. So I agree with you, Chair, because everything we have done actually has been following that particular plan. But let me respond to a few issues, and then HOD and his team will come back to the rest of the questions and areas we have not clarified. Chair, I'm not sure what human resource plan Honorable de Klerk is speaking about in relation to hospitals. As a portfolio, as a department, we have been presenting a rationalization program to the portfolio committee, and it's something that we have been working on. But the rationalization program, Chair, speaks mostly to staffing at head office and district offices, not necessarily in the hospitals, whereas the majority of our staff are actually at hospitals. Now, it's not possible, Chair, to have a human resource plan in a hospital facility or in a hospital setting. The truth of the matter, Chair, is that there is not a single post that is not important when you are in a hospital setting. You can't say a cleaner is not important. You can't say a administrator is not important. So a cleaner is as important as a doctor, because there's no doctor that's going to operate in a filthy theater. There is no nurse that must run around and do the job of an administrator, open a file, feed a patient, clean a patient, give the patient medication, and actually treat that particular patient. Now, when you look at a hospital setting, I'm not sure what human resource plan that Honorable de Klerk is talking about. In fact, Chair, when we came into the Department of Health in 2019, there was a huge shortfall of staffing in the different hospitals. And that is why today we are facing the huge numbers of medical legals, because the health workers have been so overworked, and sometimes they were unable to do the work that they were supposed to do because they were doing work of someone else. Now, you know, for someone who doesn't utilize a public hospital, it's easy to speak about cutting off jobs at a level of a hospital, but it will be very much against the interest of those that actually need the service that is at that level. Of course, if you have medical aid, you would not understand what this is about. So I just want, I don't understand really the human resource plan at a level of a hospital. Of course, at a head office level, at a district office level, we had a plan, we are planning on it, we are implementing it, and we have been talking to the portfolio committee about that. The alternative, Chair, to this, okay, let me then go to the issue of COVID staff that was employed. Chair, the reason, maybe the starting point is acknowledging that we should stop referring to these contractors as COVID staff, because yes, they were employed during COVID, but they are contractual staff within the department. When we started, we had 14,000 staffers that were employed during that time of COVID, Chair. And of course, those were funded by National. But when National took away their grant, we eventually were left with 7,000. And the reason why you had the 14,000 people that were employed was because at the level of hospitals, we did not have enough staff. We did not have enough nurses. We did not have enough nursing assistants. We did not have clerks. We did not have cleaners as this particular department. And the fact that we employed 14,000, Chair, it tells you that there was a need. And the 14,000 actually was just a drop in the ocean in terms of the posts that are there that needed to be filled, but we could not fill them because we didn't have the funds. So when National gave us the money, we were able to employ only up to 14,000. Now, when National took away their funding, we were faced with two options, Chair. One, to let go of this COVID-19 contract staff or close some of the hospitals. Now, I can assure you, Chair, from where I'm sitting, closing a hospital is not an option. But if you find yourself with 40% staffing in a hospital, what do? It's better to actually either you employ or you close that facility, because that facility is as good as killing people itself, because you can't run a hospital with 40%. Now, that is why we had to actually take in some of these, or some of the COVID-19 staff. And Honorable Thakuraj Panzi is correct. When we presented 2 years ago, we indicated that the employment of the COVID-19 staff is going to be phased in. And it has been phased in, Chair, in the past 2 years to a level that we have moved from 7,000 that were on contract to 1,400 or 1,500 that are still on contract now. So that should tell you that we have had a plan and we have been implementing that particular plan. And Chair, if we are not able to absorb the COVID-19 staff or to employ the COVID-19 staff as they are called, then it means some of the hospitals will have to be closed, because you will not have enough nurses, you will not have enough nursing assistants, you will not have enough cleaners, nor will you have administrators. Let me tell you, Chair, why it's important to have an administrator in a hospital, because probably you might not, some members might not be able to understand this. When you have a patient that is being admitted, that patient has a file, and the file must be managed at a level of the hospital, or must be managed at a level of a ward. When a doctor comes in, someone needs to be able to pull the file, someone needs to be able to update the file, someone needs to be able to manage the file. Now, when the situation before COVID-19 was happening, a nurse would have to manage the files, a nurse would have to feed a patient, a nurse will have to look after that particular patient. Now, that tells you that one human being was doing a job of 3 different people, which is why we found ourselves with situations where in other areas we had more medical legal claims, because people were actually not just doing their jobs, but they were doing jobs of other people, and it was putting the department in a very problematic position. Let me respond to Honorable Governor on the Centers of Excellence. Chair, Centers of Excellence are there. We have been reporting to the Portfolio Committee. We have close to 4 now, and we are moving to 6 because we have added other hospitals into that particular element. Now, these have been implemented and have been implemented for the past 2 or so years, Chairperson. But the reality of Centers of Excellence, Chair, is that their impact is not going to be today. Why is it not going to be today? Because yes, we are able to assist those patients that come to us directly, but it is the court that must decide whether that court actually allocates a patient for future medicals, or the court decides that the Department of Health will provide the future medicals. Now we are in a position where we are able to prove, and we have done so, prove to the court that actually we now have the particular services that future medicals, or the cost for future medicals, will be in relation to. But it's not up to us, Chair, to instruct the court or the judge on how to issue a decision. We have one matter where the judge, after we have presented on our centers of excellence, the judge was able to rule in our favor to say the centers of excellence, after we've given them enough evidence of how they operate, where they are, and the judge took the decision that actually that is sufficient. That particular patient should not be given future medicals, because then they can always come into our own facilities as long as there is a direct caseworker. And we have been able to appoint a direct caseworker that will work with that patient. But again, I want to emphasize that depends on the court, Chair, because it becomes a court decision, not necessarily ours. When we put in place the centers of excellence, it was because we wanted to be able to say to a court, every time we have a matter, we go to court and give evidence that we are in a position and we have the capacity to actually look after these particular patients. But it still again depends on what on what the judge decides, on how the judge decides. So yes, centers of excellence are there and they are functional. We've employed and they are assisting all the other patients that are there. But in terms of whether future medicals are granted or not, that becomes a responsibility of a judge. The last point I wanted to speak to, Chair, is on the decommissioning decommissioning of the different hospitals. That's a matter as well that was raised by Honorable Thakur Rajpansi. Chair, we have implemented our plan. We have hospitals that were no longer being utilized, particularly the TB hospitals. We closed those down, and I think we've closed about 6, and we took the staffing that were in those hospitals to the different hospitals that are actually functional. So that process is, as we continue, about to be concluded, Chairperson. The process that we are currently working on is the reclassification of some of the hospitals, and here we are talking about Richmond, yes. Richmond Hospital, Chair, is one of those hospitals that we are reclassifying. Richmond was a TB hospital, but because Richmond did not have a hospital, we converted Richmond into become a district hospital, and it's already functioning as such. And there's a few other hospitals that we are reclassifying in that particular fashion. We've already started. The staffing is there. We are now just working on the legal documentation and legal processes of that. In relation to Honorable Rogers, the staff employment and whether the matter went to Treasury or it went directly to the Executive Authority. Treasury is not a big brother department and does not have the authority to speak on behalf of departments or decide for departments. The Executive Authority is the one body that decides whether we employ and we employ at what stage, and that is why the matter would have gone to the Executive Authority, not necessarily to Treasury. The only time where matters or such matters are taken to Treasury is when there are cost-cutting measures that are saying every department or any department can only appoint or employ through a support of Treasury. But even then, it's not Treasury that decides. That recommendation is then sent to the Premier, which subsequently is sent to the Executive Council. But in this instance, we did not have a Treasury did not have that mandate, and we also did not have an instruction to take our matters to Treasury, Chair. Thank you very much. I think HOD and the team can come in to respond to other issues.
Thank you, MEC, HOD, and CFO.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me start by saying that MEC has covered almost all the questions that have been asked. One will be just short on some of them. Firstly, is there a plan to look after our HR and how we maintain our spend on HR? Yes, there is a plan. I can assure the meeting that as late as yesterday, I was looking at the PESAL report that we get every month, and using that, we are maintaining an 11% vacancy rate, not because we want that vacancy rate, but it is the vacancy rate that makes us think we can be able to pay for the staff that we have and not adding. But also, Chair, MEC has covered the issue of the staff that is called COVID staff, and correctly, MEC has corrected us more than once. It's not COVID staff, it's contracted staff that was filling spaces that were already there. And up to today, we can assure this meeting that if we let go of that staff, a lot of suffering will be felt by the community. So we have to create that balance and also make sure that all categories, as MEC has said, are covered, not only nurses and doctors. I think that is important. So there is a plan. Also, Chair, there is a comprehensive plan that looks at the medical legal plans from prevention to up to the level of the court. It has its own pillars that we are looking at, and we are also saying, if you look at our budget for last financial year on medical legal plans, it was 140 million. And now the budget is 110 million. We are trying as much as possible to reduce this spend. And there are other works that we are doing to also check whether this money ever goes to all the people that are deserving or not. And therefore, we are covered at that level. The rationalization is also continuing. MEC has spoken to that. She mentions Richmond, but there is also Claywood and other facilities, including, Chair, the fact that when MEC goes to Isibhedlela Kubantu, we see patients there. It's not people that would not have gone to our clinics, but it's people that would have gone to our clinics, and we are taking services to them. That in itself reduces our spend in terms of the patient care. But it is the spend that we are going to see the benefits of at a very later stage, because it is the prognosis and the output that will tell us later that these are yielding some good fruit. At the moment, it looks more like we are capitalizing it, but we are seeing that it has very good impact, and also not only on the department, but the community as well. So, Chair, we are doing everything possible. And I must again say, MEC covered all the questions that I could hear. Unless there is something that I missed, I will ask CFO to come in, then Ubaba, Undlovu, and Ushezi to also add. Thank you, Chair.
HOD, speak to the
Yes,
action
Chair.
plan. I don't know if I missed that.
The MEC speaks of the action plan for the medical legal.
No, there was a question that can we please provide an action plan for all our financial plans? Yes. No.
Yes,
Plan for
the financial. MEC, I must apologize. You covered that correctly. That's why I didn't touch it. When we were told of this meeting, we were not told that we must provide that action plan. There is definitely a comprehensive action plan that we have discussed and are working on a daily basis. We can provide that in terms of how are we managing this funding and managing also the different service providers as and when we get funding from treasury to manage the funds. But we can provide that, Chairperson, if needs be. We apologize we didn't provide it.
Thank you. Thank you, MEC and HOD. CFO, I'm not sure if is there anything else, because we have run out of time. We are more than 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. We have a comprehensive plan that it's been alluded to, but I just want to bring to the attention of the members that some of the plans are more of long-term and medium-term. I'll give you an example. You need to analyze positions, activities. If you were to say, I can consolidate these positions, and you have to make sure that you are not consolidating incompatible duties. To give an example, you need to analyze where can you find efficiencies, and if it takes combining positions? Or
sorry. I see the name is Kotamani.
Yes, that's the name.
I'm sorry. I want to say, because the HOD and MEC have said there is a comprehensive action plan, you are also confirming that. I wanted to suggest that can then be honorable members be given that it's either maybe on our next meeting, maybe obviously it's going to be the next year. Please, members, be finished with that action plan. Those who are actually interested on the action, because there is an action plan. We have been confirmed that the action plan is there. Can we hold it there? Is that okay, honorable members?
Agreed, Chair. If it can be circulated, that would be great. Thank you, Chair.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. I think this is very important because for us to be able to see, because they have said, MEC, HOD have confirmed that there is an action plan, then that is what we're actually talking about. So now we'll be giving that action plan. Thank you. So there is no one else now. Honorable members, here is the report. But what I wanted to add in closing on the department, I want to plead with honorable members. What I've seen, even from the after all these reports that has been engaged, and then we ask questions for clarities, we are given answers into questions, whatever that we wanted to be clarified on. Please, honorable member, I want to plead with all of you. I know we are in election year and all whatever that we want to say, but let's make sure that we remain honest with the work that we are doing. Because at times you find in the media, when we are given a space into the media, you find the report that is completely opposite to that what was given to us. So I'm just pleading with the committee members, when we are given an opportunity to be on the media, please give the correct report and the answers that were given by the department for us, for any clarity that we've asked for. That is my plea to all my honorable members. Thank you. This is our report, honorable members. Can we then own the report so then we'll be able to move forward?
Chair, I think we note the report.
Thank you, Honorable Kavenda. Can we then appreciate and thank the department on the report and the submission that have been given to us, the answers, the clarities that were asked by the members. Let's really appreciate all what has been given to us. Thank you. We can release you and move on to the next vote, which is the vote 13, social development. I'm sure they are all here. Maybe we can start with the MEC, or they will tell us who's going to give us the presentation or HOD. Can we then move on, honorable members? Vote 13.
It's me again, Chair.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Thanks, MEC. You can proceed.
Oh, social
Thank you very much.
Oh,
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I firstly wanted to just indicate that MEC Khoza is on leave. I think, as colleagues are aware, MEC Khoza lost her husband a week ago, so she is now on leave. So I am acting in the Department of Social Development. There are just two areas that I wanted to indicate, Chair, that I got a briefing on when I met with the team. The first one is that in relation to the wage bill, they are affected in a sense that they have a 96 million rands shortfall that they will have to find from within their own coffers, which is something, again, as we know, will affect them adversely. The social sector grant is also being reduced from the level of the national department to a tune of about 2 million rands. And of course, this is something that is affecting all of us, but it has a serious impact on the running of the department. But HOD Vilagazi is in the meeting, Chair. She will lead the team.
Thanks, MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable MEC. Good morning to you. Good morning to the honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee. The HOD is present in the meeting together with the team. We have prepared the report as per the invitation. So we have the report to appraise the members of the Finance Portfolio Committee on the mid-year review, revenue and budget performance report, and also to appraise you on the spending pressures and what we are proposing as mitigating strategies in order to remain within the budget. I will request the Chief Financial Officer of the department to make a presentation. May I indicate, honorable members, that the Department of Social Development has finally employed a Chief Financial Officer, because we haven't had one for quite some time. We have Mr. Senzo Zungu, who was working within the provincial treasury at Limpopo. Mr. Zungu, can I hand over to you, sir? Thank you.
Thank you very much, HOD, and good morning to the Honorable MEC and honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee and the Honorable Chairperson and all colleagues present in the meeting. As indicated by the HOD, my name is Senzo Zungu. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the department. Maybe can I close the video now so that I can proceed well?
Yes, you can. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. This is our presentation as at the mid-year of the 22-23 financial year. The outline will talk about the purpose, legislative framework, mid-year revenue, mid-year budget, and mid-year infrastructure spending and conclusion. With your permission, Chair, I won't go each and every slide because I believe the presentation has been circulated to all the members, but I'll try by all means to highlight the important issues that requires the attention of the Finance Portfolio Committee. So the purpose is to present to the honorable members of the Finance Portfolio Committee the mid-year revenue and the budget performance, as well as the areas of spending pressures and proposed mitigation strategy in order to remain within the budget. The same framework, we are being guided by the PFMA Act number 1 of 1999 and Solar Regulation. And also the emphasis is on Section 39, 1 and 39.2, which talk about effective steps that need to be taken by the account officer to ensure that there is no unauthorized expenditure and ensure that departments spend within the vote, and also the issue of environment according to Section 43 of the PFMA as well. The first slide number 5, we're talking about the revenue performance. The projection, as at mid-year, we project to collect 4.2 million, and the actual collection was above the projection. We collected 5 million, and the expenditure and the revenue collected, instead of 100%, we have collected more than, we're at 118%. We are over by 2.7 million. The over collection is mainly on transaction in financial assets, which was the recovery of the overpayment in SIU investigation, where the suppliers needed to pay some money back. Then that money went to revenue. That is why we are over collecting. And then coming to expenditure, this is the picture of the expenditure. The main appropriation for the department is 3.2 billion, as is reflected in the grand total there on the picture there, and the actual expenditure as at the mid-year is 1.7 million, which is at 52.6%. Then when we look at the column reflecting under overspending, so we're trying to check how far are we. Since we're at 52%, it means we are overspending, Chair, by 2.6% as at the mid-year. And this 2.6% is 85.5 million rand. That overspending is on program 1, where we're overspending by 70.9 million, which is a program that is used to pay for most of the services like fleet services, security services and other administrative services that is paid by the department. Hence, the overspending is mainly in that program. Under social welfare services, we are overspending by 4.7 million. Children and families were overspending by 26.5 million. I need to indicate, Chair, that this is the biggest program in the department. Under restorative, we're underspending by 15.4 million. Under development research, we're underspending by 1.2 million. And on the right hand side, it's a projection for the year end. As at the year end, we project to spend 3.4 billion against the budget of 3.2 billion. So our projected overspending is 192 million rand. Then I will go to economy classification, where I will explain what is happening, which is on slide number 11. The corpus of employees, the main appropriation, the budget is 1.6 billion, and as at end of the 30 September, we spent 894 million, which is 55%. So we are over by 5%. Which converts to 84.1 million overspending. The Chair, I need to indicate on this one, we also project to overspend by 156 million. The reason being, we have been affected by the budget cuts in the department in total, which are around 400 million. And on top of the 400 million, there are also non-funded wage agreement of 3%, which equates to about 96 million. So at the moment, as a department, our budget cuts, or the impact of budget cuts, are around 500 million. And also need to indicate here that these cuts are implemented in competence of employees, and the department can't chase away the employees. So we end up paying those employees with a deficit budget. We have engaged provincial treasury regarding this matter. We have even escalated the matter to national treasury to request that the Department of Social Development be considered as a department which is also labor intensive, like other departments like education and health. However, the response that we receive is that there is no additional allocation that we could get. So we are projecting to overspend by 156 million in corporate employees. In goods and services, we're at 55.3%, which is also overspending by 37 million, and we project to overspend by 46.4 million. Under transfers and subsidies, we are doing well on this one. Under provincial and local government, we're at 28%. Under development agencies and account, we're at 83%. Under NPOs, we're at 45%. Under household, we're at 49.6%. So as at the end of the mid-year, we project to have some savings under provincial and local government of 334,000. Under NPOs, we are projected to underspend by 22.7%. However, that under the 22.7 million, the 10 million has been surrendered during adjustment to Department of Community Safety and Licensing to fund the crime prevention initiative, and another 10 million has been moved to goods and services to fund that portion of the shortfall of 46 million. Under building and fixed structures, Chair, we are also at under buildings at 54.9%. We're also overspending by 4%, which equates to 4.1 million. Machinery and equipment, we're also overspending by 2 million. And we also project to overspend by 4.9 million under buildings, and also 7.8 under machinery and fixed structures. That's give us the total overspending projected of 192 million. I also need to indicate, Chair, that the provincial treasurer has assisted with some additional funding that amounts to 35 million during the adjustment. So it means our overall projected overspending has been reduced by 35 million. So it's about 150 million after the adjustment budget. However, the picture, Honorable Chair, does not change. We're still in a crisis as a department. So this is the slide that is explaining what's happening that I've already dwelt on, which is the Committee of Employees that is not funded, the 3.5% wage agreement amounting to 96.7 million, which is not funded, and also the budget cuts that were implemented in 21-22 also affected the compensation of employees, relating to that projected overspending of 156 million over. And also there's also a reduction. Oh no, I thought Honorable Chair, there was someone speaking. There's also a reduction in social sector incentive grant has also been reduced during the adjustment by 2 million, which is also affecting our compensation of employees. On the goods and services, we project overspend by 46.4 million, which is attributed to a low budget growth compared to previous year outcome and aggravated by the payments of accrual of 22-23 financial year. Because in when the financial year 22-23 was towards the end, the department also could not afford to pay, and there were a lot of accruals or invoices that were deferred to the next financial year. And then when the financial year starts, we need to start with those invoices, and those invoices are impacting on the budget for the current financial year, including it's also impacted with the normal increases on security costs imposed by PCERA, vehicle fuel maintenance costs, legal services for ongoing labor cases and civil cases which requires consultation to state attorney, and increasing SETA cost, travel and substance for official utilizing the vehicles for official purposes. I also need to indicate, Honorable Chair, that we need, as a department, we spend much on fuel. Because our department goes to communities to respond to the social ills. Where there are disasters, the department staff are the first to come, and they are also last to leave. So there is a lot of fuel that is spent in the department. And also under transfers and subsidies, there are no issues. I've already indicated that there was underspending, which has already moved to goods and services. And also under building and other fee structures, I've also explained this one, where we are saying there are some project over spending due to reduced allocation in the department. The next slide number 14, is the infrastructure spending. The main appropriation is 162 million, which is coming from equitable share. We do not have any grant for infrastructure as a department. Whatever that's allocated here come from the provincial treasury. And also we will appreciate if maybe there could be some grant that could come and cater for the infrastructure for the department, since our infrastructure is aging and it requires a lot of maintenance, and there's due to a number of social ills, there are many infrastructure that needs to be constructed due to respond to those social ills. The budget is 162 million, and the expenditures at end of September is 80 million, which is 49.5%, and we project overspend by 10 million. Under existing infrastructure, we spend 44.5%, and under maintenance and repairs, we're at 22.4%. Under refurbishments, we're at 66%. Under upgrade and addition, we're at 53.6%. Under new infrastructure, we're at 47.9%. And also, the main challenge that we're having in under infrastructure leases, that is at 63.2%, where we are overspending by 5.3% as at Midyear, and we project to overspend by 12.3%. So this picture, Honorable Chair, is as reflected here. The under infrastructure, we need also to be assisted, but there is no assistance coming from provincial trust. So it means the department needs to develop strategies and ensure that some of the projects under infrastructure are deferred to the next financial year, since the funding is not adequate. So this slide I've already explained this one, Chair, and then the last slide, it's on the conclusion. We are saying we have the cash flow challenges that continue to have an impact on the budget spending, and the result as a result of budget cuts estimated at 500 million. So our budget cuts are severe, even if maybe when they are being compared with other departments, but they are severe. 500 million is about 500 million, and if you allocated 3 billion, this amount is huge as a department. This situation has also been worsened by unfunded wage increases amounting to 196.7 million. So these unfunded wage increases are being paid by the department. So we end up now, the money now is moved, is used to pay the compensation of employees mainly, since it is ring-fenced and COE does not have money. And there is this 196 million for wage increases that is not funded. So this actually compromises other items in the department, like payments to NPOs, as well as the goods and services. We are also having a lot of unpaid invoices, if I may also report to you, Chair, because of this situation, because the money that is allocated in the department is not enough. So at the end of every month, we can't pay all the invoices. We've got accruals on monthly basis where the invoice is captured, is not paid. It ends up being paid in the following month. This implies that the implication of the carry-through cost budget cuts in 23-24 amounts to 596 million, including the unfunded wage adjustment. And we were saying if we can be allocated at least this wage agreement, we can manage as a department. As an intervention, the department has stopped all procurement for non-essential items, and it's also considering we are only considering departmental facilities like a children's home, where the old age homes, the home for the disabled, where there are people or beneficiaries living there on a daily basis. They need to have clothing, they need to have cosmetics and so on. So we're only considering such a procurement that is essential. For the officials, we are not buying anything. We're not buying furniture. We're not buying most of the things for officials, but we consider our beneficiaries. The year-on-year budget control will continue if there is no provision of that minimum of COE 96 million, and there is no scope for any further representation as remaining funds are for commitments towards control applications, and the balance are for transfers and subsidies. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Siyabonga Baba Zungu, and welcome. We must also congratulate the department. It's almost 10 years without a CFO. This must be applauded. Well done to the department. Honorable members, here is the report. Unless there are any other addition from your team, Babu Zungu.
No, thanks, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure if HOD wants to add something and DDGs.
Okay. HOD.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think we are covered. We will then be responding to the questions by the honorable members. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, HOD. Honorable members, here is the report. Please let's engage on to this report. And it's not a crime to say, no, we are covered. Mine will be in the meantime, while all honorable members are still trying to check on their issues, is the issue of personal cars versus the government vehicles by the staff. Are we making any savings on that? I also know we must also take into account the issue of safety of the staff, especially at the department. Most of their staff are females. Their safety driving to those areas where there's quite a lot of hijacking areas. So maybe also if you look at that, and then maybe you can just give us that report if are we making any savings, or because I think I saw it somewhere where it says it seems to be the cost seems to be escalating on that regard. Please give us a bit of a briefing onto that. Are we making a savings, or is there any plan that is in place to try and cap maybe the escalations onto this matter? Honourable members, is there anyone else? I saw Honourable Rogers. Honourable Rogers, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just two questions, and I'm sorry if I missed it in the presentation. But the one was a report on the SIU investigations and the suspension of the employees, whether there's any further progress on that matter. And then also on the issue of the accruals from 22-23, the 144 million, how the department plans on funding these accruals in the 23-24, and what impact that might have on the current projected over expenditure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. But also, while we are here, because I see there's no one else, those accruals, the effect on the service delivery, and also I heard that we are now paying service providers almost on 60 days. Does it have any service delivery impact when you are doing that? Because I'm sure it's going to affect the service providers, and then definitely in the long run, it's going to start affecting us on the service delivery. Honourable Governor.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, mine is this, right? And I know it's a strange question to ask, but they've had to reconsider 523 filled and unfilled posts because they've become unaffordable. What's the impact on service delivery in this regard, particularly around the 500 of that 523, the filled posts? Because if they become unaffordable, does that mean that they are going to be closing those posts, and how? Yep.
I saw another hand. I'm not sure who is it because it doesn't show on my side. Please do come in.
Honourable Chair, it's Honourable Rajbansi.
Thank you.
My question is on the NPOs. And I still have, and I think because, NPOs know it's budget session, so many complaints of some of the big NPOs that the department funds, still complaining about the fact that there's no, response from the department as to their growing needs because of the different social problems that are occurring in our communities to increase their budgets. And therefore, they have to fundraise, which is also a thing that NPOs do. But, the department had done an investigation a while back on NPOs that were on their books. And there were findings that some of them didn't exist or were not even didn't have addresses even in our country. I really want to know, whether that register has been cleaned out so that we don't have local NGOs that are really doing a good job, not getting increased or incremental even payments for for problems that they are taking care of, where we still don't have sufficient shelters or facilities to look after vulnerable people.
Thank you. I saw Honorable Rogers.
Thank you for your indulgence, Chair. On the back of the question that you've asked, and I'm glad the MEC of Health is still here, because if I'm understanding it correctly, I think part of the problem with accruals is cash blocking from Treasury. And I think that's part of that. Correct me if I'm wrong. My question to the MEC of Health and also the Social Development Department would be, as the pressures mount on cash flow, cash blocking is going to become more and more prevalent. And how is that going to affect critical service delivery? Is there a way around certain critical line items that need to be acquired by departments where cash blocking is avoided under motivation? Or is it just, excuse me, a blanket cash blocking, which obviously excludes compensation of employees? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Rogers. I think the SOD and your staff, please do come in. I'm not sure if acting MEC wanted to say something.
Yes, I can respond to just one issue, Chair. Honorable Rogers is asking for MEC for help. That one is gone. but Chair, Honorable Rogers is asking a genuine question, and it's a question that at some point we will have to actually sit down and discuss. But as the situation stands right now, cash blocking applies across. But I think he is giving me something to think about, to say maybe we should go back. We have a committee chair that is called MinCombad, and that's where the finances of the province, outside of just the executive council, are discussed as well before they go there. Maybe I will raise the matter in the MinCombad so that we have a principled decision that will probably cover all departments, to say these line items might have to be excluded from the cash blocking, because he is correct. Eventually, as our situation becomes worse, it will become a serious problem as we move along, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. SOD.
Thank you very much, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, for the questions, and thank you to the MEC for responding on our behalf as well. Responding to the question by Honorable Takur, I must indicate, Chairperson, that we do have a database of all the non-profit organizations that we are working with. Remember, when we work with the NPOs, we enter into a service level agreement with that NPO with clear deliverables. So we clear who we're in partnership with. I must indicate that at some point, because they do try to form some networks, they would then want us to divulge information of other NPOs, of which is not possible. And some, as we fund them, even though we have challenges, they would not then tell their friends the truth that they have been paid. They would want to paint a picture as if the department is not paying them. Recently, they came to the department and they left sort of a letter, a memorandum that they demanded to be paid. But the person who actually submitted the letter, who signed off, his organization has been paid. We don't owe anything to that organization. But those where we are still behind, we have communicated with them. So what happened is that we have introduced a new way of paying them in order to ensure that there isn't that pain of running around after each month in terms of monthly subsidies that we have seen that it's working in other provinces. So that is where we are with regard to the payment to the non-profit organizations. Of course, we do not have additional budget as we are struggling ourselves as a department. So it becomes impossible that we can also then give them more allocation when we do not have that, when we are experiencing cuts ourselves as the department. But I'll remember last year there was a funding that we received from the National Treasury that we were able to give to the NPOs, and we communicated with them accordingly. With regard to the question that you have asked, Honorable Chairperson, on the issue of the vehicles, the Scheme B, we call it the Scheme B. We can safely say that it is cheaper if we use state vehicles. But also based on what the chairperson has already alluded to say, there are issues of robberies and so on that compromises then the service delivery. You find that, as you have said, Chairperson, honorable members, the majority of our field workers are women. So they are soft targets to these criminals who then hijack our cars. Then we then said those who have their own cars and who are willing to actually use them to actually do the work, then which is Scheme B, then we entered into agreement with those. Others did not want that because of the terrain and the environment where we work from. So we were trying to ensure that even under the circumstances, we do actually do the work. The communities out there do not suffer. But there are hotspot areas that are known in the province where social workers are hijacked around Pietermaritzburg. There is also a challenge around King Cetshwayo areas and so on. So we do have such challenges, and some of our officials at this point in time are still going through a psychosocial support through the psychologist and employee health and wellness because of the trauma they experienced when the vehicles were taken. Most of the time they are taken at gunpoint, which is traumatic to them. So at some point you find that if there is no one who has his or her own car, the matter, even how urgent it is, cannot be addressed unless maybe we're able to get SAPS to escort a social worker to that particular family and so on. Remember, we cannot do the work in the office. We have to actually do a home visit. That's why CFO was saying what we do is labor intensive. It means there must be a home body who will actually visit this place where there is a challenge. In case that person needs to remove the child to a place of safety, you actually remove taking the child with you and so on. So it's so frustrating. I must indicate that with regard to also the question raised by Honorable Governor in terms of the unfunded post, is still a challenge because right now, because of limited budget, and also unfunded wage bill that we are managing. Even those that are retiring, those that are resigning, we cannot fill their positions. We need a lot of social workers and we are unable to employ them. We have entered into a bid with the national department, with other provinces, a joint bid where we are motivating for the National Treasury to support us so that we employ more social service practitioners. For example, in KwaZulu-Natal, we have more than 2,000 unemployed social work graduates, and the majority of those graduates their studies were funded by government, but we are unable to employ them at this point in time. May I then hand over to the CFO and other colleagues to cover what I did not cover here. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, HOD. CFO.
Oh, thank you very much, HOD, and thanks to you, Honorable Chair. I will respond to the accruals of 144 million for the previous financial year. The question, I can't remember the honorable member who asked the question. I apologize for that. But the question was that how is the department planning to fund that accrual? If I can explain, the accrual was a result of the budget cuts in the previous financial year. So as at the end of the financial year, those invoices could not be paid because there was no money to pay for them. Those accrual had to move to the following financial year. In the following financial year, there are budget cuts affecting that financial year. Now, these accruals are bringing pressure in the already pressurized financial year. So we have engaged Treasury to ask for assistance. However, the assistance is minimal that we have just received, and we appreciate it's about 35 million. And as a result, we project to overspend by the same amount, Honorable Chair. We are saying it's around 150 now after considering that adjustment that we are receiving of 35 million. So this actually means, Honorable Chair and members, every year, if there is no allocation coming from provincial treasury, we are going to be having the accruals until we get assistance. So we have spoken to Treasury, and we are not even tired. We are still talking to Treasury to get assistance. We'll also appreciate even you, Honorable Chair, to assist the department, because that money mainly, Honorable Chair, is used to pay the contractual obligations, mainly for security services in our government facilities to safeguard assets, mainly the catering services for the homes where our beneficiaries are living. They need to be catered for. Those are, and also to our NPOs, which takes the chunk of the department. So if these cuts come to the department can't go and say, we're cutting the security, can't go and say, we're cutting the NPOs. It's difficult. As a result, we are going to be having these accruals over and over again until our voice is heard by provincial treasury and we are considered. If we can be considered by the same amount of 155 this financial year, we're going to be better. Or maybe when we move to the next financial year, there will be no accruals. And then there was also a question about from Honorable Rogers about the cash blocking. How does it affect the service delivery? The cash blocking is actually the result of budget cuts. If the budget has been cut and the cash that is provided to the department is a reduced cash, so it affects the department very, very negatively. At the moment, we can't pay all our service providers, and we rely in the service providers for us to provide a service. For example, we have been having the petrol cuts. There's a service provider which is the West Bank. If you can't pay West Bank, they don't negotiate with you. They'll just block their cuts, so you can't pour petrol in the state vehicle. The service delivery is affected, and as a result, because we can't pay our services providers within 30 days. So even most of the service providers, they need to wait for 60 days. So we could be affected. At the moment, we're having a lot of electricity cuts in our offices, because some municipalities, if you don't pay, they don't negotiate with you. They just switch off. You explain to them that their money will be coming in 60 days. They'll say, we will only switch on your electricity after we have paid. So that affects the service delivery as well. We've got service providers like catering in facilities where our beneficiaries are living. The service provider will run out of cash to buy food for the beneficiaries. If the money is still waited from the department to pay for the invoice, then the service provider will run out of cash. So our service that we're providing to our beneficiaries will be affected. We've got security services. If the service provider is not paid, the service provider will run out of cash to pay those employees. As a result, the employees will run out of cash. They can even be tempted to say, in order for us to survive, let's steal from the department, or from the employer, or from the department. So all these budget cuts, they are having a negative impact on the service delivery. So we appeal to the Finance Committee for assistance, so that we can be allocated a little bit, maybe in that adjustment budget by provincial treasurer. If you can talk for us, we're appealing. We're having a serious challenge. And then the other issue was around the SIU investigation. I think on that one, the SIU investigation has not yet been concluded. Is still on and on, but I thought maybe Ashoti can cover it nicely. That one. And then let me, with the NPOs, the Ashoti has already responded on the question by Honorable Governor of about 523 posts. Also, that one, there is a negative impact in the non-filling of post. We do have most of those positions are for social work supervisors, where we find one social supervisor is supervising about 20 employees, which is against the norm of the department. So also that one, those positions are not funded because the cuts were implemented in the compensation of employees. As a result, the service delivery will be affected, because maybe in terms of supervision, the social workers, they don't get enough attention in terms of being supervised. And also some of those positions relate to even the social workers themselves. With the rise of social ills in the province, the disasters and so on, we need people to go and respond to those disasters. If the positions are not filled, the service delivery is indeed affected. The department is willing to fill those positions. However, there is no budget. So we're appealing for the assistance. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thanks, CFO. Honorable members, here is the report. Can we then accept the report?
Apologies, Chair. I think the HOD was going to come back on the SIU investigation.
Oh, okay. HOD, are you still here? On the SIU issues?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. On what the CFO presented, I wanted to add also on the issue of the state vehicles, that we have ensured that state vehicles have the trackers, because some time back there were no trackers. So I think that those people knew that it was easy to take a government vehicle. So that has been implemented to all the vehicles. Regarding the SIU, though I could not get what is the specific question, but we must indicate that the SIU was working in the department in terms of their investigations, and we have paid them what is due to them, because they were at some point they were sharing with the provinces, those that have not paid them. We have paid them, and they have also provided us with the report in terms of the investigation. The investigation in the main that they were doing was with regard to the procurement of PPEs in the Department of Social Development. They did identify organizations or companies that were ready to pay back the money, that agreed that they overcharged the department. So those companies paid back the money. I think it's the same money that the CFO was referring to, that it then came under like revenues because it was paid back to the department. We had a communication from the SIU CEO confirming that, and then it was paid to us. Then there are those that they were still following, who were then disputing that they need to pay back the money. I think is a 1 comma something close to 2 million for those that agreed to pay a chairperson. I'm not sure whether I'm responding to the question as asked. And then on the same matter, because this was the side of the SIU, on the same matter also, we managed the matter in terms of the Labor Relations Act, and then there were officials that were subjected to disciplinary processes. And then out of 12 officials, only 3 officials whose matters are still outstanding. Their case, it is going to be attended to during the last week of November to the first week of December. Otherwise, the rest of the matters have been cleared and finalized, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, SOT. Honorable Rogers, are you being answered?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. I'll also follow it up with a written question to the department to get some more clarity.
No problem. Thanks a lot. Honorable members, can we then note the report?
Noted, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are now done with social development. We are now going to be moving to our next presentation by a vote. It's vote 12, transport. I actually asked who's part to see if can they get them a bit earlier, because we are now gonna pass. Okay, we are 15 minutes away. I'm not sure if are they here or we break for 15 minutes and then back at 11:30. And let's appreciate the department and also release them because we are now moving on to the next department. Once again, thank you to our acting MEC again for assisting on to the department as well. Thank you. We can release them. SPA, are we winning with the transport or we wait until 11:30?
Actually, I was just on the phone with the PLO. She says she's trying to reach out to the MEC.
Oh.
She's going there in person where he is now. He did promise that he will join the meeting. So
No
I
problem.
request that maybe we take a comfort break of 5 minutes or so.
No
while we
problem.
wait for
Honorable
them.
members, can we then take a 10-minute break and then come back? Thank you. We'll be back in, say, now it's 11:13. Let's be back at past. It doesn't look like we have a choice. Thanks, honorable members. Honorable members, are we all back? Is it the department in now?
Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members in the meeting, colleagues from Department of Transport. My name is Boniso Mpele, HOD for Transport. Yes, indeed, we are in, except just one apology, Honorable Chair, from our Honorable MEC is just caught up on another engagement. Thanks.
Thank you, HOD. If the department is here, then we can proceed. I forgot even to introduce myself. My name is Tulani Kulu, the chairperson of finance. Welcome the department. I'm sure it's going to be HOD who's going to take us through, unless maybe there's someone else HOD, but please do lead us on your presentation. And then if the MEC, let's accept the apology by the MEC, I think then HOD, please take us through.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and honorable members, colleagues from the department. Thank you very much for affording us the opportunity to come and present Vote 12 Mid-Year Finance Performance. I'll ask your indulgence, Chairperson, that I request our CFO just to take us through. If there are any additions, I will definitely come after he has presented. That is Mr. Taban Nkosi. If the chair allow, I can then request him to fly the presentation and then take us through the presentation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, HOT. Please do proceed, CFO.
Good morning to the Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, HOT and colleagues. Honorable Chairperson, I would just like to flag the presentation. Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, this is our media report for the Department of Transport. Our media report is based on original projections that were submitted to Provincial Treasury in line with Section 44A for our cash flows. And as at mid-year, the department's expenditure was over the projections at 6.572 billion, vis-a-vis our media projections of 6.828 billion rands. In terms of our expenditure by program, Honorable Chairperson, administration had projected to spend 283 million rand vis-a-vis the 544 that we'd spent at mid-year. Transport infrastructure had projected to spend 4.6 billion rand versus the 4.5 billion rand spent at mid-year. Transport operations had projected to spend 820 million rand versus the 953 spent at mid-year. Transport regulations had projected to spend 555 million rand versus the 512 spent at mid-year. Community-based programs had projected to spend 21 million rand versus the 36 at mid-year, with coming to a total over of 289 million rand as at the end of September. However, Honorable Chairperson, when you take a look at our main budget, the department as at mid-year was projecting to overall spend on 205 million rand, which is an amount that comes from our learner transport program as a result of the underfunding in the program. We do have our expenditure by economic classification, Chair, and then on slide number 5, we then have the explanations in terms of our overspending of 289 million rand as at mid-year, where Program 1 administration reflects a net overspending of 261 million rands as a result of our computer services costs from Microsoft licenses, which were accrued from the 2022-2023 financial year. Microsoft licenses are invoiced in dollars, and this invoice is usually received towards the end of a financial year around March, and the department could then not process this payment internally as per the normal BEST systems. It had to be forwarded to Provincial Treasury as management bank unit, and thereafter it was processed through Standard Bank through their Forex department. Under Program 2, Transport Infrastructure, it shows a lower than anticipated projection in terms of expenditure at 76 million rand, which was mainly attributed to slow spending on some of our capital projects as a result of challenges with contractor performance. There were also delays in the appointment of our consultants as a result of an appeal that was lodged with the court, which has just recently been finalized, and the department is now continuing with the appointment of our consultants. There was also slight delays in the procurement of our contractors and our rehabilitation program, where the contract was anticipated to be awarded towards the end of the first quarter, but due to a large number of bids received, we were only able to award it during the second quarter. And it is expected that expenditure under this program will increase in the third and fourth quarter. Under Program 3, Transport Operation, it reflects an overall expenditure of 132 million rand, mainly due to higher than anticipated spending in our mainstream services. That was higher than anticipated. There was also a higher than projected spending in terms of learner transport, where I had earlier indicated that we had not received a full funding that we had received over the prior years. The reasons for overspending, mainly on mainstream, can also be attributed to the escalation of costs in line with the CPI, which are linked with labor and fuel indices. The learner transport program, as explained earlier on, Chairperson, was underfunded in the current financial year from allocation that was received from Provincial Treasury by almost 200 million rand that the department is expecting as additional funding in the adjustment estimates. Under Program 4, Transport Regulations, we are reflecting a net under of 42 million rand due to slight delays in the filling of budgeted vacant critical posts as a result of high volumes in terms of applications that have been received. However, through a drive that has been pushed by the department in terms of making sure that we fast-track the processes when it comes to a recruitment, majority of these posts have since been filled, and it still is an ongoing process to make sure that we fill whatever it is that is remaining when it comes to these posts. And we are confident that come year end, we should then be in line with our projections in terms of this program without any under expenditure. Program 5, community-based programs, it reflected an over expenditure of 50 million rand, and this was mainly due to a misallocation of expenditure for our VRRM program, where journals have been processed to correct this misallocation. And in this program as well, we are anticipating a fully spent budget as at the end of the financial year. I should also note, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, that as at the end of September, the department was sitting at 50% in terms of expenditure vis-a-vis the departmental budget. In expenditure per conditional grant, the department was projecting an overall expenditure of 2.353 billion rand, where the department spent 2.437 billion rand as a media, with 1.69 billion rand under provincial road maintenance grant, 669 million rand under transport operations grant, and 69 million rand under the EPWP grant, which then left an over expenditure in our provincial road maintenance grants against our projections of 1.1 million rand in the PRMG, 48 million rand in the PTOG, and 34 million rand in the EPWP grant. The department is anticipating that at year end we would have fully spent our conditional grants. And I should also note, honourable members, that for this expenditure under conditional grants as well, as at mid-year, the department was at 50% expenditure. We are then in the slide explaining the slight overs and unders in terms of our conditional grants, and I will take it as read by the honourable members. I will then move over to slide number 11 with our projections for revenue collection, where the department was projecting to collect 1.026 billion rand at mid-year, with a collection of 1.180 billion rand, where 1.091 billion rand was collected under our tax receipts. Sales of goods and services, 73 million rand was collected. Fines and penalties, 12 million rand was collected. 1,000 rand from interest and dividends. We had no sale of capital assets as at this time at mid-year, and for our financial transactions in assets and liabilities, we had collected 2.5 million rand, where in total then we had collected 154 million rand over than our projections, with the bulk of that being our tax receipts. Also, honourable members, when you take a look at our actual projections, overall the department was projecting to collect 2.3 billion rand for the 2023-24 financial year. However, as a result of the over collection that we've had on our tax receipts, we are now projecting an estimated over collection of 173 million rand. The reasons for the over collections are stated as follows. In terms of our motor vehicle licenses, where we've collected 143 million rand, this is ascribed to the applications of new and renewal motor vehicles that we have within the province. Under sales of goods and services, the over collection of 30 million rand is mainly related to the application of learner and driver licenses. There are also personal deductions within those and other related cost fees that are being charged under that item. Under fines, penalties and forfeits, the department has under collected where we've collected 12 million rands, which is lower than our mid-year projection of 33 million rands, which is related to fine recovery. The department, however, has put into place remedial measures to ensure that we fully collect against this item, where we've intensified there's a team that usually goes out in terms of revenue collection for our traffic fines, which are summon servers. We are anticipating that with this action being taken by the department, we then should be able to collect in terms of our projected collection for the year. And interest, dividends and rent on land, there was only 1,000 rand collected against a mid-year projection of 92,000 rand in respect of our staff debt. Under transactions in financial assets and liabilities, we were projecting to collect 558,000, where the department has collected 2.5 million rand under this item. Also, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, I would like to highlight that as at mid-year, the department was sitting at just over 50% in terms of revenue collection when you're looking at this item against our projections, where we are then anticipating that we will over-collect when it comes to these items at the end of the financial year. Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, that then brings us to the end of our presentation for our mid-year budget versus expenditure report. Thank you.
Thank you. I think HOD, is there any addition on to the CFO's report?
No, thank you very much, Honourable Chair, Kwapashe, and Honourable Members. Yes, I would like just to add 2 items, Honourable Chair, in as much as they might not be within the midterm, but I think it is our view that it might be at the interest of the finance portfolio. One, it talks to a letter that we have received from Treasury, Honourable Chair, that we received it on the 9th of November, that our PRMG grant has been cut by 103 million due to the fiscal challenges that the country is experiencing. But on our next engagement, therefore, we will then report the impact that this does have. The second part, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, is the issue around the scholar transport. We have engaged Honourable MEC, who will be leading the discussions with Department of Education. Without talking to it prematurely, it appears that there are also some funding challenges which could lead, Honourable Chair, that come December, the department might not be able to transport learners. But however, as I said, it's prematurely. Honourable MEC has directed us to meet with Department of Education, which is a meeting that will happen at 7:30 with the technical team, preparing for a meeting with our MECs probably late Monday or Tuesday. So it's a matter at the moment that is has got the attention of our Honourable MEC and also is currently dealing with it. I just thought probably at the interest of the Honourable Members, should probably this matter be heard elsewhere, at least Honourable Members, they have a benefit that they got it from the department. Those are the only 2 Honourable Chair matters. But the report presented by CFO is a true reflection of the financial position on the midterm. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members.
Honourable Members, here is the report. Thank you once again, HOD and CFO, for your presentation onto the report. I saw the hand of Honourable Rogers, Honourable Govender. Honourable Rogers, you can start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for the report. Let me just start off with the last point that the HOD just made about scholar transport. If I understood him correctly, he said there's a possibility that by December the department will run out of money for scholar transport, and they want to engage with the Department of Education. Now, is that engagement around the Department of Education assisting with funding of scholar transport? Because if that's the case, I don't see it happening. We all know what the Department of Education is facing when it comes to the over expenditure. So perhaps the HOD can just give me some more insight into that. Chair, and then the other problem, we've had a continual problem with the Department of Transport, and that's always around SCN. And it's one of the reasons why this department doesn't always spend or is able to spend its budget. What exactly is happening with the SCN challenges in the department, and what are the plans behind there? And then my last question, Chair, is the funding that was given to SANRAL to repair roads from the April 22 floods. What is the department doing to ensure that SANRAL is spending that? Because we still have the M4 that is a bit of a disaster. Those are my questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Rogers. Honourable Governor.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I wanted to first ask about these two contracts that the department was due to replace. These were ZNT 417 and ZNT 418. The AG had declared them irregular. What is the position with them? Then I also wanted to know about the vacancies in Program 4. The presentation is saying that, many have been filled. Could we get an update, because it is a source of underspending? Then the third point, Chairperson, is around the learner transport services. And here I think, in fairness to the department, that's the Department of Transport, we can't blame them, because it seems like with education, it's a bit of a moving target. And, year after year, we've seen that the Department of Transport has had to eat into its own share of the equitable share to fund this. And I don't think that's correct, especially when, the finances are tight. So I think there has to be something where the Department of Transport gets an accurate figure and funding from the Department of Education. Otherwise, they will keep having to dip into their own resources, and it really is not correct. Then I want to also just raise the issue, Chair, about the procurement in the department. And it seems like there are supply chain management constraints, because there's about 106.688 million that has not been spent in terms of upgrades and additions due to a host of issues around procurement, contractual delays, contracts being terminated due to poor performance, etc. And what is the department doing to tighten up its act in relation to the awarding of contracts and contractors who delay and underperform? Because this is a department where we also find that Black economic empowerment takes place, empowerment of small contractors, but it's got to be, services have to be rendered. My last point, Chair, is around the issue of the quarry. There have been numerous work stoppages, and this has also delayed the department spending funds because communities, this has been reported previously to the committee, use and access to the quarry. What has happened to resolve that matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Governor. If there's no one else, let me just come in. I think I'm partly covered on the others. There will be, I think, three of mine. One is the issue, the contractor issue has been said by Honourable Governor on the replacement of those two contractors. And the issue of organogram. Please give us an update on your organogram. And then also the transfers, both transfers to municipalities and SANRAL. Please also give us a progress in those transfers, because it seems to be there is not much progress that has been done. And there is quite a lot of program that has been transferred to SANRAL. Are they performing? Are they spending the money? Thank you, SOD. Please do come in, and CFO as well, just to give us those clarities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll take some, and also colleagues will also assist. We do have DDGs as well in the meeting. Honorable Chair, also they would then add. Starting with the first question from Honorable Rogers around the scholar transport. As I indicated, Honorable Chair, that it's a matter that we're then still dealing with Department of Education. And Honorable Governor is correct. There seemed to be a trend as well of the underfunding. And also, the honorable members will also recall that the department act as a contractor, so to speak, to Department of Education. So the risk that the department always take, it's a risk that we contract service providers on behalf of education, and all to find that sometimes money becomes short like this financial year. But what I was going to ask, the indulgence from the honorable members to say, hence I indicated earlier on, Honorable Chair, that I'm raising this prematurely. There is going to be an engagement with our MEC and both MECs, and chances are that the matter might be presented to Cabinet. So I was just going to ask that maybe we allow and give space for that process to happen. But I was deliberate in raising it so that the Finance Portfolio Committee is aware, and also just to appraise the Finance Portfolio Committee that the department is dealing with it. Then the Finance Committee find it maybe on the media and so on. So I thought it was fair that they hear it from the Department of Transport. In terms of the SCM, I think CFO will then cover that. But in relation to Sandral, in particular the M4, Honorable Rogers, I was there last week on Tuesday. One is comfortable with the progress that bridge, more especially the bridge at the moment that is giving us, it gave us hard time during floods, which is Otongati Bridge leading to Izimbali. The contractor is there, is making a good progress, and we're also comfortable with the technical skills and also the expertise that they're implementing, because looking at the constraints that government has and also the technology and innovation that they come up with in terms of reinstalling that bridge. And I can assure honorable members that if we are not disturbed by any rains, within 2 months that bridge will be open and we should have access to M4. But apart from that, a team led by DDG Nkosi, who is in the meeting in relations to also transfer in terms of the performance of the municipalities and Sandral thereof. But also, honourable members, you would recall that the rationale and the reason, I always mention this, that the reason why we ended up with Sandral, it was the guidance from the National Department of Transport with an expectation that we were going to get a funding relief, which eventually didn't come through. But at the time, when a decision we got that the money was not come through, that Sandral had gone very in advance with the designs and the appointment of contractors. So then we felt with no option as a department. We then said, look, let's proceed. But those projects are going well. Every month there is a progress meeting to check the progress of all those projects, then reporting to the department. But also we do have a dedicated team of our own that work in each and every of those projects, just to make sure that in terms of compliance based on KZN DOT specifications, it's complied with. So we're sort of, as a department, comfortable with the work currently that is done by Sandra. In relation to the 2 contracts for 497, 498. I think CFO will cover that, and also colleagues will cover the vacancy at program 4. But also safe to say, under the filling of the post, honourable members, that indeed, I think in the last 6 months, we've been one of the well-performing department in terms of putting pressure and also trying to recruit, obviously, because of our vacancy has been high. So almost on a daily basis, and even now, I could see documents coming through for those appointments. So with the guidance from the Honourable MEC in terms of having operation boards, where you have dedicated teams sitting solely with the aim of making sure that they embark on that recruitment process. So it has indeed yielded good results. So I think that's probably what I could just cover on the issue of the filling of the post. Honourable Chair, what you raised around the organogram, we can then report, probably colleagues can also add that at this stage, we have finalized our organogram, but at the moment we are engaging Treasury around now the issue of the cost and the funding. But also the honourable members will also recall that the department is still using a 2008 structure. So then eventually there's going to be a lot of posts as we realign into a new structure, just to make sure that we take care of the new mandates. So I think that's the discussion that we're having with Treasury in terms of the funding of that structure. So from there, if we find one another, even if we approve partially the structure, then it will be then presented to the Premier's office, then to DPSA. That's the process that I understand that will be happening, but colleagues will then come in just to add. Basically, those are the ones that the HOD could easily cover, but through your permission, Honourable Chair, then I'll ask CFO and other colleagues if they would want to add. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, HOD. CFO, please proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chair, I will be answering the questions that were raised by Honourable Rogers and Honourable Governor when it comes to our challenges that we do face under our SCM. Honourable Chairperson, I'd just like to start by highlighting that in the 2022-23 financial year, the number of cases that were raised by AG and our SCM had reduced significantly. However, with the ones that were still remaining, the department has formulated an SCM strategy which has been implemented. And every Friday, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, we do sit under finance with all the MENCO members, where we discuss finance issues also relating to SCM, the monitoring of a strategy that has been presented in terms of the progress thereof, in trying to ensure that we reduce the challenges that are faced with SCM. We've also embarked on a program where we are intensifying our procurement strategies and also ensuring that our committees do sit and look at documents to ensure that we relieve all the backlogs that may have been accumulated. In trying to do so, we are then trying to ensure that we fast-track a service delivery by making sure that we award a number of tenders that we receive. I would also, however, want to point out that, yes, as much as we are working on our backlogs, we do have challenges around our numbers in terms of our bidders that put up their bids when we issue out our tenders, but that is being mitigated through an ongoing monitoring process where we are also asking members to ensure that they put any overtime in looking at these, where we're working Saturdays and Sundays to ensure that we reduce the numbers in terms of our backlogs. We have also intensified on our internal compliance, where we're ensuring that whilst we are fast-tracking our appointments in terms of contractors, we are also adhering to relevant legislations and legal requirements in terms of SAM, so that we don't fast track our processes while compromising the integrity of the department and incurring unnecessary regular expenditure. So whilst that is being done, we are also intensifying our internal compliance checks. And just recently, our SAMs underwent a risk assessment with our internal risk officer, where we are looking at some challenges that we are facing in terms of poor performance and project management, where we are putting up measures, risk mitigation measures, to ensure that we reduce those risks when it comes to contractor performance. We are also monitoring that as a department internally to make sure that we reduce the number of failures that we have, and also to try and improve in terms of contract management on the side of the construction, so that we don't have a lot of projects that then fail without us being aware or having our strategies to mitigate those failures in advance. Under the contracts 4197 and 4198, yes, indeed, the AG had deemed those irregular, and the department stopped implementing projects under those contracts. We have issued other contracts in relation to that, where we have finalized our rehabilitation contract for which is a panel. It was awarded about a month ago. There are 3 others that are currently in progress that are due to be advertised within the next week, which also deal with the rehabilitation and maintenance of our roads. There are also other bids that are in progress of being going through the relevant stages that will be dealing with our gravel roads. Regions have also advertised their bids in terms of our road maintenance, where we are advertising zonal contracts that are also in process of being awarded to cover the gap that was left when we had to terminate the 497 and 498 contracts. And yes, we are working full on at full speed to ensure that we do have multiple contracts that will be able to assist the department through an open tender process and through panel process to try and mitigate any other risks, to say that should one contract come to an end, we should then be able to have a continuity as a department on other contracts that would have been issued by department, and ensure that we are still able to deliver services to our communities. And on the issue of our transfers and municipalities, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, can I kindly request that on this one, if the Honourable Members would permit, we do a proper report in terms of our performance and monitoring of our projects where we have made up our transfers, because I do know that these projects are being monitored, as the HOD has highlighted, in collaboration with the SANRAL and the municipalities. But I would request the Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members to give us an opportunity to at least do a proper presentation on this one, where we will be able to consult with the people that are responsible for it, which is our infrastructure unit, and be able to give a proper update on this one, Honourable Chair. Thank you very much.
Are you done, CFO?
Yes, Honourable Chairperson.
Okay. I think we will appreciate if you can be given those full report onto all the transfers and the performance of those transfers, to especially with municipalities. And I think we got a bit of that report from the spending on SANRAL and the performance. But I think we'll really appreciate that if that can be circulated in future, or maybe before our next meeting. I think that one we can accept.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you. Honourable Members, here is the report. Unless there are any other follow-ups, Nkosi.
No, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Members. I just wanted to cover the question around the quarry issues. That was also a question that was raised. Let me indicate, Chair, that on the ground, there is indeed a lot of improvement in the understanding by Amakhosi. As a department, what we did, we developed a policy for the quarry on how we have to source the quarry. And that was workshopped with the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders. I think at that meeting, I think more than 90% of Amakhosi were in support because in the main it was the rationale behind why we utilizing a quarry. I think that was welcomed. But outside that forum, we also met the chair of the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders, who also welcomed the policy and how it intended to assist in improving or developing those areas under the traditional councils. And lastly, Chair, the plan is to meet the chair of Ngonyama Transport. Also, we have had telephonic conversation, but we haven't as yet set up the meeting. Also, with Ngonyama Transport, we want to, as a department, to have an understanding of where indeed we are heading to with this policy so that we could garner their support in delivering development in the respective traditional council areas. Let me stop there for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Babunkosi. Is there any other addition? If none, then honourable members, here is the transport report and clarities of the question we have posed to them. Can we then note the report? Honourable members, are you still here?
Chair, we note the report.
Thank you. Therefore, we have come to the end of our meeting today. Also appreciating honourable members for your contribution into the meeting and our officials, treasurer being, I saw some are still here, so Joanna is still here, and other members, all HODs, the MECs, engagements who were present today. Once again, thank you and enjoy your weekend. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Honourable
Honourable
Members.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you. Cheers.
Thank you, members.
Thanks, Chair.